professional registration advisor, interviewer for professional registration. Last 10 years, from 2012 onwards, currently she is the professional registration advisor. Also, she is acting as a chair of engineering policy group in Scotland from 2021 October, that is last 1 year. Also, she is the chair of IET Council.
Beno sir, we lost your connection.
So I'm sorry, small disturbance. I'm continuing. She is the chairman of IET Scotland from January 2019 to September 2020. Not only IET, she is a very powerful volunteer. She worked as a president of Women Engineering Society also. Like a lot of involvement in IET and other societies. She also having lot of experience, more than 30 years of experience. Currently, she is working as head of digital systems, expanding the digital system capabilities, signal processing algorithms, and distributed platforms, which augment UK's RF system. She was previously deputy head of electronics engineering at Leonardo. There, an executive role overseeing the business electronic processes, tools, resource planning. Also, she is a visiting professor of Royal Academy of Engineering, Edinburgh, Napier University from 2020, last 2 years as a visiting professor. She worked earlier in many reputed industries, like head of electronics engineering in January 2019 to April 22. Also in digital certification functional manager in the year August 16 to January 19. Electronics design process manager from January 16 to January 19. International electronics design process lead from 2009 to 2015. Engineer research at University of State Clyde from 2005 to 2011. Principal FPGA engineer in ECS technology from May 2000 to November 2005. Principal digital design engineer from 95 to May 2000. Senior system designer in GEC Marconi Avionics from 1985 to July 1995. She also worked 1 year in industrial placement in Ferranti International PLC. Which a lot of industrial experience. No doubt, she is a very powerful volunteer. We all know being a fellow is the highest in IET. So today she is with us to explain about this fellow review, and registration of professional engineer is a powerful one. Europe and all the countries, all the engineers need this professional registration certificate. So I am sure today's session she will cover both professional registration and fellow review. Once again, on behalf of all the participants and IET Kanyakumari local network, I extend our sincere welcome, ma'am. Next, it's my duty. I welcome our Honorable President of Kanyakumari Local Network, Dr. Joseph Javagar, and our former past President, Dr. Lenin Fred, So on behalf of all the members, I welcome you both. Thank you and welcome, sir. Also, I welcome all the committee members, especially Treasurer Dr. Judson, YP Chairman Dr. Jijin Turai, YP Vice Chairman Engineer Geoffer Jaish, YP Secretary Aditya, and all the committee members. With all your support, we are conducting many programs. So on behalf of Kanyakumari Local Network and everyone, I welcome each and everyone, all the committee members. Now it is very important to welcoming all the participants. So you are all IET members and non-members, but with your presence only, all IET programs are going well. I am sure today's webinar will help to gain more knowledge. So on behalf of all the members and our IET Kanyakumari Local Network, I extend sincere and heartfelt welcome to all the members present here in Google Meet and YouTube. Once again, I welcome each and everyone. Welcome you all. Now over to Geoffer.
So on behalf of IET Kanyakumari Local Network, we also extend a hearty welcome to you also, sir, for actively participating in all the events. And I would also like to extend a special thanks to Suresh Vishwakarma, sir, who's there in all part of our activities and have organized this event. So it's a great honor having such a wonderful personality today as our chief guest, which is none other than Dr. Marsh. So while going through the profile, it seems like a big, small notebook. So it's very privileged to have such an eminent personality with us today. So we would like to hear it from you, ma'am. Over to you. Stage is all yours.
I'm sorry, I was saying it's a small booklet just because of my age. That's why. Right, let me see if I can share. Now it says entire screen. Let me see. And if I put presentation up. Can you see the presentation?
No, ma'am. It's not visible.
It's not visible.
It's not visible, ma'am.
All right, okay, let's see then. Let's try something else. Oh yeah, okay, I got to allow it. Select window screen, entire screen, allow. Right, now, so hopefully when I put it up now, you can see it. Can you see it now?
Yes, now it's okay.
Fantastic. Right, okay then. So it's quite a large presentation because I've put both together, registration and fellow. So I'm going to start off with a couple of slides just to introduce you to the IET. Now, I know most of you are members, but this gives you an overview of facilities that are available in the IET. Then I'm going to do registration and then fellowship. So the IET is now 150 years old. It was 158 last year. And its tagline is working to engineer a better world. So it has 155,000 members in 150 countries. There's 4,000 who act as volunteers. It's based around 5 sectors, which is the built environment, design and production, energy, information and transport. It goes back to 1871 and it's regulated by the Royal Charter. And it spans everybody, basically from technical roles all the way to the chief exec in a company. And in the UK, it's the largest of 39 professional bodies. So what do you get when you join the IET? The first thing, there's career development. So you can there's Career Manager, which is online, which is for your progress. You can also record your continual professional development there. There's mentoring available, and there's courses, either for yourself or for your company. But the main thing they do is professional registration, and all levels from C-Eng down to Eng Tech, I-Tech, and up to C-Manager as well. So getting involved, how can you get involved? Well, like yourselves, you can get involved through the local network. there's technical networks, there's a young professionals network, there's on campus, which is for students at university, and there's online community NGX. For membership support, there's facilities in the venues. So if you're ever in the UK, you can use venues there. There's discounts on products. You've got My IT and you've got Foothold, who's a charity. Now, we're very keen on shaping the next generation, so we've got a lot of educational work out there. And the two main things we're looking at the moment is IET Faraday and the First Lego League. But there's also lots of scholarships and awards for people, and scholarships are obviously for students and technicians, and the awards are for people who are high up in their career. And there's the policy groups as well. And knowledge base, there's lots of knowledge base as well. So we've got libraries, publications, journals, there's IET events, and there's IET TV. So there's lots of different categories. So there's students, there's technician, associate, member, fellow, honorary member. There's a signature group, which is for helping apprentices advance towards technicians. And there's Advantage, which is for helping final year students during their first 4 years, basically till they get CNs registered. This is just basically an overview of the membership. So student apprentices are those studying engineering, technicians are people who are technicians, members are for professional engineers, fellowship, which I'll be talking about today, is the highest one that you can apply for yourself. And an honorary one is bestowed by the trustees. But there's also associate. An associate is for somebody who's not an engineer, but wants to be involved with it. For example, there's STEM membership teachers now. So, routes to registration. So, why register? So, it's internationally recognised. It helps ensure your safeguard of society, and it gives employers, government, and society confidence in engineering. So, what should it mean to you? So, it means that you would be recognised as a professional. You'll improve your career opportunities and your salary prospects. You've got greater influence within your company. You're officially confirmation of professional competencies. You've got the opportunity to connect and influence, inspire people, and it's international recognition of your qualifications. And the thing it doesn't say there as well is once you become registered, then you can also become a professional registration advisor or an interviewer as well and help other people become registered. What does it mean to your organisation? So it means you've got technical or managerial credibility. You've got assurance of your competency, confirmation of your skills that you've claimed that you've got, internationally recognised. It helps with recruitment and retention. It enhances organised reputation, and you've got a good quality management system. Now, I don't know about the companies in India, but I know certainly in the companies in the UK, when they bid for jobs, the first things they're asked is how many people are registered. So what support do you get if you decide to become registered? So you've got professional registration advisors like myself. You've got industry representations. So the IET will come into your company if you're a member, and they will help the people within that company become registered. You've got mentors. You can sign up for mentors, and that's mainly for people who have just got their degree and then are going to take a long time, so they go through this mentorship. And you've obviously got the staff. What are the categories? So the main ones I'm talking about today are just the engineering categories, which is your CEng, Chartered Engineer, your IEng for a corporate engineer, your Eng Tech for your engineering technician, and your ICT Tech for ICT. And there's two standards. So it's a UK Engineering Council that put these specs together. So what's an incorporate engineer? So an incorporate engineer maintains and manages application of current and development technology and may undertake development and design, whereas a chartered engineer is using new and existing technology through innovation and creativity. And they may have accountability as well for complex systems with significant levels of risk. An engineering technician is applying proven techniques and a practical solution. And iTech is doing the same, but with ICT. So what are the competencies? So we're looking to look that you've got knowledge, you've got the skills, you've got the understanding, and you've got the professional attitude. So what do you need? So for C-Eng, what we're looking for is a B-Eng along with an MSc or an M-Eng. For I-Eng, we're looking for a B-Eng or we're looking for an HND. And for Eng Tech, we're looking for a level 3 technician qualification, and the same for the IC Tech. So what if you don't hold the qualifications? What happens? Well, actually, 70% of the people we now apply for C-Eng and I-Eng don't have the qualifications. So it's now all based on the 17 competencies. So if you don't have them, what we're looking for is that you've done further learning or you've done work-based learning. And then you've had the opportunity to learn throughout your whole career and exercised what you've learned, and you've learned from that experience. So basically what I say is if you meet the 17 criteria, then you're there. Then all you have to do is basically write a note basically saying why you think they're there, but the qualifications aren't so important now. And if you take my case, I'd done an HND and I did a doctorate. The doctorate wasn't qualified, what do you call it? It wasn't registered as a qualified qualification. So I basically did it on my HND. So there's 5 categories. So A covers knowledge and understanding, B is the design and development, C is responsibility and management, D is communication, and E, no, and commitment. Okay. What we're looking for in A. So in A, what we're looking for is you've got the knowledge, the background knowledge, that you've extended that. So basically you're learning throughout the year and you're applying that. And you're applying that to either health solutions. Okay. Somebody's making a noise in the background. Okay. And the big thing here, which I've highlighted now, is recognised as well. You might not always be working on innovative designs, but if you're working on complex technical issues, that is already, and that's included as well, basically. So what is B? B is that you can design, you can develop a solution, and you can follow the entire cycle from requirements capture right through to delivery. So B1 is you're taking an active role in identifying projects and you're getting project requirements together. You're looking at the problems and the opportunities. B2 is that you've done the appropriate investigation, you've done research, and you've undertaken that design and development and analysis required to complete a task. And B is that you've implemented that. So that's the one where you've gone from requirements capture right through to delivery. The C is about management. The C1 is plan and work resources needed to enable effective implementation. C2 is the management side, looking at schedules, budgets, resources. C3, now C3 used to just be that you led a team, but now they've added technical specialism, which I'm really pleased about because I have got a couple of people through on a technical specialism. But as this is an engineering qualification that we're looking at, I'm really pleased that they're recognised and that people who have a technical ability are as worthy as people who lead teams. And then C4 is about continuous quality improvement and using best practice. D is all about communication. At the moment, it's communication in English, although they're now looking at Mandarin. They've started Mandarin in China, so hopefully they might bring other languages in. But you can clearly present and discuss proposals, and you can demonstrate personal and social skills and awareness of diversity and inclusion. So E is split into 5 parts. First part, E2, is understanding and complying with relevant codes of conduct. So the IET have code of conduct, but your work will also have that. So you've got to show that you comply with that. E2 is understanding the safety implications. So that's usually health and safety in the workplace. A3 is understanding sustainability and the environmental impact of what you're doing. And that's becoming even more important nowadays. E4 is to show that you're doing your CPD. And E5 is ethics and understanding your responsibilities. So what does all that mean? You've basically got 5 levels. If you were to go and assess yourself, you assess yourself at 5 different levels. So 0 is no experience, 1 is you're a trainee, 2 you're supervised, 3 you're a practitioner, and 4 you're an expert. And what we're looking for is that you get into that practitioner level. So you're aiming for that. So you want most of the 17 criteria to be there. So what happens when you get reviewed? So first of all, if any of the 17 criteria are level 1, that's an instant decline. So you must have 2 and above before you can apply. For A1 and A2, if you've got more than 1, 2, then it's a decline. So you must have a 2 and a 3. So a supervised and a practitioner level for A's. B's, it's the same thing. You're only allowed 1, 2. So again, 1 at supervised, 2 at practitioner level. C is a bit different. So C, you can actually have 2 at supervised level, but you also have to have 2 at practical level. The E's, E1, E2, and E5. So that's your code of conduct, your safety, and your ethics must be 3 or 4. If any of them are not 3 or 4, that's an instant decline. Right, for E3 and E4, so that's your sustainability and your CPD, it's a minimum of 2. Now, if you actually had the minimum in each category, then that would be a decline as well. So don't go for the minimum and think that's fine. It's okay to have minimums with each category, but not minimums throughout the whole thing. So basically, aim to get to level 3. So what should you do? You should assess your competency. If you've gained it, that's good. That's signed off. You can keep that competency there. If it's not, what do you need? How do you get to need there to get that level? So put together an action plan and then undertake that. So it might be that you can do it yourself. It might be something that you can do, or it might be something that you have to go to your company and say, I'm short in this area. How can I gain experience there? The next thing is familiarise with the spec. So you can download that from the Engineering Council. Record evidence. So if you're starting your career, as you gain that experience, record it as you go along. Because 4 years' time, when you start to write it down, you will forget it. So as you gain information to put towards these competencies, write it down and keep that in Career Manager. Self-assess yourself. Where are you? And this is showing a form here that you can do on the Career Manager. We actually assess each one. So you'll probably start as 0s and 1s as soon as you graduate, and then gradually you'll fill in and get up to 3s. And get advice. So you can go and get advice from a professional registration advisor. If you're a student, that would probably be mentoring to start off with. And then as you get further on in your career, it'll be a PRA. And this is what it looks like if you go into Career Manager. So you go into each one, it tells you what the level means for each competency, and then you can assess yourself against that. So the problem solving loop. So what are you doing with that? You want to identify the problem, explore the information and create ideas, select the best idea, design, build and test it, then evaluate the results. The engineers and sometimes clients don't actually know what they're trying to solve. Too often they don't. Too often the problem isn't well defined. So you've got to define it first, and this is capturing the requirements. So do you know enough about the problem? Do you know more? Do you need to know more to understand it? So do you have to go and get more knowledge? Well, if you do, that's your A1. What's your evidence-based approach? So in IET, that's A2. Is it creative and is it innovative? Is it complex? So that's CNG A2. Expand the problem domain before converging on the real issue. So that covers A1, A2. Then you want to look at our problems. How do you solve this? So that's B1. So if you identify the techniques and methods, that's in the IET. In the CENG, you're looking to identify potential projects and opportunities, to understand the requirements, to understand the constraints, the issues and the risks, to put forward recommendations for improvements and determine criteria. And you expand the solution set before you put the final selection in place. Then you do the design and development, which is B2. So identification and specification of the design, agree what you're going to do, what you're going to research, identify and evaluate risks, and applies the plan, do, check, act, feedback. So this is basically where you're starting the design and development. And then B3 is evaluating your success. So you've implemented it, you've taken these requirements, you've done the design, you've tested it, and now you're evaluating how did it go. What were the resources? What were the critical constraints? What was the evaluation? What was the feedback? How do you approach this problem-solving loop? How did you manage to report and progress? Right? Did you have to give presentations? Did you have to write reports? Did you have to integrate with the customer? Did you address risks and issues in communication and the buy-in? And that contributes towards C&D. And while you're doing all that, think of stars. This is a good way of doing this. So look at the situation, what was happening that needed your expertise, what was the task, what were you required to do, action, what did you actually do, and result, what was the outcome. So when you put your application together, if you think of STAR, right? So what we don't want is a pure CV. What we want is you to take certain jobs that you've done in each job and then look at the STAR. So develop your application, try and convey a story. And it gives you a chance to ensure that your interview is driven by you. So if you did one design, talk about how did that design come about? What did you have to do? And it's what you did, not what the team did. So make sure you talk about yourself in your first person and be very clear. It's not like, oh, I'd helped with this or I was involved in this. You've got to say exactly what you did. So very, very clear language. And you've got to make sure you cover all the 17 competencies in your application. So you've got a form to fill out. So at the beginning, you fill out the registration checklist. You then do a history at the start. So this is actually your CV part. So you write a bit about your career history, you talk in the first person, and you get all the information down. Now, the thing is now we have actually put a constraint on it. So you're not allowed any more than 12 pages, which means when you put the front pages on and the back pages on, you've actually got about 6 pages to put in your whole career. Now, if you see my career, I managed to get that all in 4 pages. So it is possible. It's being very concise, making sure that you put forward. You only need 1 for each competency, although if you can put 2 or 3, that's very good. So it gives you backups. But you want to get the information very concise and very to the point, but make sure you actually cover the competency. And then you also have to include an organisation chart to show where you are in the company. And it suggests 2 levels above and 2 levels below, if possible. And it's also good if you can also put in that chart, who else is registered. And this is, put your application together. So then you need verifiers or supporters. So they have to put information together about you. They basically go through each one of the criteria and say how they think you meet that criteria. Please be careful when you're getting supporters and make sure you get supporters that are actually supporting you. We have had occasions where supporters have said, oh, we don't think they're actually there. Well, that's not good. So you really want somebody that's looked over your CV, your application, is happy with it, and is going to give you positive support. Then you submit your application. What happens? So you send in your application, right? And the very first thing is it goes to the staff. And the staff look at it and they assess it. So the first thing they look is the qualification. Do you have the qualifications? If not, then they will ask you for a little bit more information why you meet the criteria. They will then do an overview of the form to see if you've got the 17 criteria there. If they're happy and they think everything's okay, then you go into the interview. If not, they'll send it back to you and ask for more information. Now, it could be in one competency. So they could say, well, we don't think they meet C1. Can you give us more information? Or they could actually come back and say, we're not happy with B. So give us information on B1, B2, B3. Okay? When they've got that information and they're happy that we've got all the information, then I'll go forward to the interview. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink. So if you get to the interview, then they think you're going to pass, right? So once you get that through and you're going to the interview, you know that they're confident that they think you've got all the 17 criteria, okay? If they think you're weak in any of them still, they will highlight it. So they might say to you, you'll be asked more questions on C, for instance. You then go to the interview. And at the interviewers cannot make the decision. What they do is they go down each of the 17 criteria. They have to put a comment in against each one of them and have to put a score in against each one of them. And at the end, the form then automatically comes up and says from each of the scores where it's a decline, where it's a pass, or where it's borderline. And if it's borderline, that means you've got the minimum in each criteria. So it's then up to them to say whether it should go to a pass or a decline, right? But they can actually say you have passed or declined, because what happens then is it goes to a post-PRI review, and they take all the evidence, everything that you've submitted, all the forms, they take all the information from the interview, and then they decide on whether you've passed or you've got a decline. If you've got a decline, they will tell you why you've declined. You will have a right to appeal, but you can only appeal on the processes, not on their actual decision. And then they will tell you what your next step is. So if you've declined for a certain reason, then they will probably then post you back to your PRA to have a look at that and to see where you fell short. Okay, sometimes it might be that you've gone too early and you just weren't quite there. Other times it might be that you didn't do well at the interview and you haven't covered that area. So they'll give you a chance again to go back through that. But unfortunately, you've got to pay for it all again. That's the only thing. When it comes to your presentation, right? Your interview, you have an hour, right? You do a 15-minute presentation, and then you get questions on all the rest. Now, the 15-minute presentation, I think it says in the next slide. Yeah, the 15-minute presentation can only cover A and B. So A1, A2, B1, B2, B3, right? It doesn't cover C, Ds or E's. It's just for them, right? So you've got a 15-minute presentation. You will given a choice at the start of the interview. Are you okay to take questions? If you are, that's good. And I would recommend it because it means then they can ask you questions the whole way through your presentation. So then you don't have to stick to the 15 minutes, right? So they will ask the questions all the way through, and then the rest of the interview will be cover the rest of the criteria. If you're not happy taking questions, that is fine. That is your decision. You will then have 15 minutes to do the presentation, and then the interviewers will have 45 minutes to cover all the competencies. Right? And go through that. Okay. So that's everything to do with professional registration. So I hope that was clear. And at the end, you can ask me some questions on it if it wasn't. So I'm going to go into fellowship now. So I'm going to cover what is fellowship, could you be a fellow, how do you make an application, and what happens when you make an application. So fellowship is the highest category that you can apply for. It's also the highest category that you can be awarded by your peers. And what do I mean by that? So basically, when you send in your application, it comes to someone like me and we review it. Right? So that's what it means, it's awarded by your peers. It's held in great esteem in the engineering world, and it opens opportunities for you. And the opportunities that opened for me was basically when I became a fellow, they gave me a little booklet, all the things I could get involved with the IET. And that has started my career in the IET. And it strengthens your reputation in the workplace as well. Sorry, I'm going to catch my throat. So how do you benefit from it? Well, you get to use FIET after your name. You get a little certificate. And in Scotland, what we used to do with pre-COVID is we also used to have a little celebration and bring you all along and give you the little certificate and try and get the president along to present that certificate. Increases your recognition with your employees. It gives you opportunities to shape the future. So as I say, as soon as you become a fellow, the IET is really keen to get you involved. So they're really keen to get you onto panels, onto discussions, to take part in events. It also gives you a chance to give back. There's a fellows in LinkedIn group, and I must admit, even though I'm a member of that, I don't think I've ever actually used it. But I do go to the fellow-only events, which are really good. So, could you be a fellow? So the first thing is you've got to demonstrate that you've got a significant high level of achievement for a period of at least 5 years in engineering or technology, and it's got to be within the last 10 years. So we're looking at, are you at the forefront of engineering technology or a relative discipline? So it's a myth that you have to be an engineer, you just have to be in engineering. Can you provide evidence of 2 or 3 of the categories? And I'll go through the categories in a minute. Do you adhere to the IET's Code of Conduct? Well, if you remember, you should be doing that anyway. And are you committed to engineering technology? So all the fellow applications are peer reviewed. And if you've retired in the last 10 years, then it's very unlikely that you'll meet the criteria. What do we expect? So the first thing we expect you to do is to do your CPD and to show that you're doing your CPD by recording it. We expect you to volunteer, so become a fellow advisor and an interviewer. We expect you to promote the IET. We expect you to connect with other fellows around the world, and we expect you to inspire the next generations of engineers. So it's not just all for you, the IET wants something back as well. But hopefully by the time you become a fellow, you want to give back to engineering. So the prime requirement is to satisfy the expectations. You've got to select 2 and at the most 3 categories. And you've got to be evidence-based. And it's got to be in the last 10 years. You've got between 3 and 500 words for each category. But if you put down 3 categories, then you've got a maximum of 1,000 words. And if you're going for leadership or responsibility, then you've got to supply organisation charts to show where you're leading and where you're responsible for. You're not allowed to just put in, see my CV. So what's the misconceptions? So first of all, you don't have to be a member to start off with. You don't have to be registered. So you don't have to be a C-Eng, an I-Eng, or an Eng-Tech. And you don't have to be an engineer. What we're looking for is people who are working in education or even in engineering or education. You're working in science, law, finance, media, a consultant, technical specialist, or working within an SME. So if you take a large company, you might have your director who is a lawyer or who is an accountant, but because they are in charge of a large engineering company, they can become fellows. So that's why you don't have to be professionally registered. So what's the criteria? There's 9 of them. There's creativity, enterprise, innovation, insight and experience, leadership, repute, responsibility, service, influence, and contribution. So what does all that mean? So creativity, we're looking for original research resulting in international recognition. For enterprise, we're looking that you've got successful creation and development of a business or a significant business sector within a large company. For innovation, we're looking at you're personally responsible for significant technology innovation and achievements to bring a product or service to market. For insight, we're looking at you're a consultant, a business manager, technical specialist, a subject matter expert, or functional head role, which is related to engineering technology. For leadership, we're looking for senior roles that sets, directs, or significantly influences an organisation's vision and strategic aims, or a leader of a corporate or specialist activity. It requires an organisation chart. Repute is that you've got public recognition of standing. So for examples, honours, so I've got my OBE. There's fellowship with the Royal Academy of Engineering, that you've won prizes or awards for the IET. So actually when I applied for fellowship with the IET, I'd actually won an innovation award. So I thought, well, hopefully that counts towards it, and it did. Responsibility, so you've got operational responsibility for significant programmes and activities. Service is that you've given outstanding service on national or international bodies, and that can be chair or senior position on the IET. An influential contribution is anything else that you meets the criteria but isn't covered by the other 8. And I'm going to quickly run through these all again for academics because it's slightly different for academics. So we've put creativity and innovation together. So in teaching research, so it could be those who have made substantial contribution to development of training, i.e. that you've put together new approaches of teaching or assessment or created new course structures which utilise new technology. And you will perhaps be able to cite awards such as the National Teaching Fellowship. It can also cover innovation and original research, which is typically evidenced by published. So we're looking at the number of journals you've had, the conferences that you presented at, if you've been keynote speakers, if you've been an organiser of conferences, if you've been a chair, if you've been an editor of journals. So that's covered by creativity and innovation. Enterprise, we're looking at the fact that you've set up a company. In most cases, it can be a spin-off company, or you've developed a high level of consultation expertise. For innovation insight, we're looking that you can do consultancy work. And it's not the general consultancy work that you do, it's that you've got specialist area of expertise. Leadership responsibility, we're looking at you being a head of a department or a large facility or a dean. For repute, that's the same as non-academics. Service, same as non-academics. And influence is, one of the examples is authorship. So do you have books? Are they updated quite often? And this is the criteria here, but I mean very small. So if you go on the website, this is what you can download. How do you get started? So you go through that 9 criteria and you pick 2, maybe 3. You download the pack and you find 2 supporters. You'll be asked to fill in your details, your experience, your application, your declaration. So they say the form's dynamic. So if you pick criteria and creativity, then that's the form that you'll get to fill in. So you put in your details, you enter all your experience and your courses that you've done. You complete the 2 to 3 criteria. I say if you pick 2, then it's up to 500 words in each one. But if you pick 3, the most you're allowed to do is 1,000 words. You agree and sign the declaration, and then you get the supporters. Now, for your supporters, at least one should be an IET fellow. But the other one can be another fellow from another institute, or you can have a PRA. You can have a supporter who's either your employer, line manager, or someone you know. But we strongly recommend that you go through yours, again with the PRA, you get a supporter that's going to give you feedback and is actually going to be a good supporter. So you submit the form, your email. So what happens? Each supporter must do their own form and fill that in. They must show that you follow the 5 years, that you covered that 5 years. So again, that's another tip I would say to you when you're filling in the form, make sure you've got dates there because we must show that you've done it for 5 years. So put a date when you started the work. No more than 1,000 words. Only include URAs if they actually help with the evidence. So you fill in your application, you send it in. You complete the application, it goes to a board. People will then look at that board, they will then review it. So you'll have at least two fellow assessors, right? Hopefully in their area of expertise. They will make recommendations, that then goes to a chair, and the chair has a final decision. And then you will be notified by letter and email. And this can take really fast. I mean, it says 8 weeks there, but in some cases it can be less than 2 weeks because it just depends how quickly we get your form in. When I get a form to assess, I'm told I need to assess it within 2 weeks. So if we get them assessed very quickly, the chair is available very quickly and reviews it. If they're happy, it'll go through. So what's the outcome? So the first outcome, which is hopefully what everybody wants, is you're accepted. The other one is we think you're probably there, but there's maybe not enough evidence. So it could be that you haven't put the dates in, you haven't really met that criteria. So we'll ask you for further evidence. In some cases, we might just go straight to interview. we might feel talking to you is a better way to get the information from you. We could then go for a defer. So if we think you're almost there, but you haven't quite got the 5 years, then we could usually say like defer up to 2 years and then decline if we don't think you're at fellowship level at all. In a few cases, as I said, you might go along for an interview. If you're asked for an interview, the chair must agree that that's the right thing to do. You'll be given a date. The interview will usually take no more than 60 minutes, and then the chair will send a recommendation. How much does it cost? At the moment, it's £150. We strongly recommend you get an advisor. So that's someone who will review your form before it's submitted. And as I say, I think that's a really good idea because it means the form's not going to come back to you. You'll have the assessment panel, the opportunity to clarify details. If you've been asked for an interview, it just means that they want to chat to you and get more information from you through an interview. And if you're not happy with the outcome, then you can appeal. What are the tips? So write in clear English, or it's got a Welsh here. Proofread your application before you send it. Be consistent. 2 criteria is normally plenty. I would only put in the 3rd criteria if you think it is really relevant. Again, you've got to speak in first person. So I was responsible for, I have done. Don't use we. Get the facts and the dates right. Lies and exaggerations will not help. Use numbers to quantify your responsibilities. So that means say how many people you're in charge of. If it's with money as well, say how much money you're in charge of. Don't use buzzwords. Don't bore the assessors. Don't say like I worked on. And don't use subjective things like it was large, it was many, it was long. Actually use the actual numbers. And that's just helplines. So I think that's everything. It is. I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully you're all still awake. Yep, you still there? Yay, good. So hopefully that was a very quick introduction. I normally take a lot longer, but because I was putting the two together, I've gone through that pretty quickly. So I hope you understood it. Any questions?
Yeah, it was really informative for us being a IET member. Instead of going through the website and the documents, you made it very clear for us to understand about the professional registration and overview of fellow as well. So first I would like to ask someone if they have some questions to ask, they can just unmute and ask.
Yeah, ma'am, very, very powerful presentation. We cleared everything. I have a small doubt. The renewal process, what about renewal process of fellow? Whether every year we have to renew or one time become fellow is enough, or every year we have to renew? What is the process?
What is the process for becoming a fellow?
Yes. One time is...
Yeah, I mean...
Is it one time process or we have to renew?
Oh, no, you don't renew. Once you're a fellow, you're always a fellow. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. No, you don't need to apply again.
Okay.
You just need to keep paying your fee every year.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's actually the same for CEng as well. You know, or any professional registration, once you've got it, you keep it. As long as you stay a member, you can transfer it to another company as well. You know, go to if you want to move over to IET or that, you can transfer it over. The only thing they do ask is that you do the training. So the training at the moment is, I think it's 30 hours if you're working and 10 hours if you're retired. Okay, and you've got to register that. So at the moment they're just doing spot checks, but if you haven't met the time, they will come back to you and ask you to prove that you've done the hours. I think there's only been a case of 2 or 3 people who have been taken to disciplinary because they haven't done any training and kept up their CPD. And I think that could mean them losing the registration. But that is the only way you would lose it. Okay. My thing seems to have frozen. I don't know why. still hear me though? Yeah?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
Do we have any other questions? Okay, I think we are almost at the end of the session. Can we conclude, Beno sir?
Yeah, I think we can go for vote of thanks.
Okay. So, to come to a conclusion, we'd like to welcome Dr. Lenin Fred sir, who is the immediate past chairman of IET Kanyakumari Local Network, and also the principal of Mar Ephraim College of Engineering, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, Geoffer. Respected Honorable Chief Guest of today's webinar, Dr. Carol Mark Ma'am. Respected founder and the present chairman of IET KKLN, Dr. Joseph Jaish sir, and the principal of Arunachala College, the secretary, treasurer, YP chair, and all other office bearers of IET KKLN, and then other members. Good evening, what are present here. It's my great honor to propose the vote of thanks for this prestigious webinar on IET professional registration and fellow overview. So I'm very much pleased and privileged to say thanks to our honorable resource person of today's event, Dr. Carol Mark Ma'am. Ma'am, it's a wonderful presentation, and we all eagerly waiting for a good application from IET KKLN for fellows. So thank you very much, madam. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for an excellent presentation. Then I would like to thank our founder and the present chairman of IET KKLN, Dr. Joseph Jaish sir, and the principal of Arunachala College, so for his encouragement and motivation towards this program success. Thank you very much, sir. And then I would like to thank the secretary of IET KKLN and the backbone of IET KKLN network, Dr. Marsaline Beno. So, and thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful program. And then I would like to thank the treasurer of IET KKLN, Dr. Judson, sir, for his wonderful work towards the success of this webinar. And then I would like to thank the IET KKLN YP chairman, Professor C. Dijinturai, and the Vice President, Mr. Engineer Geoffer, and then other office bearers of KKLN, all the IET KKLN members, and all the participants. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, once again. Hope to see you all in the upcoming sessions. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Lenin Fred sir. Thank you, Geoffer, and thank you all. Thank you so much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.